welcome to Krille's Garage. Today I'm gonna build my I often build PCs, and that's what I'm gonna do today, because I need a PC for diagnostic programs, and they run Windows XP, and you can't run Windows XP on a new computer. And also I need a computer for storage. And as you can see here, I'm gonna lower the camera a little bit. Here, plenty of storage solution in this Nanoxia Deep Silence Revision B. Deep Silence 1 Revision B. So there is space for 11 hard drives in this case. And it's quite compact compared to what you get into how many hard drives you get in. So that's why I chose Nanoxia Deep Silence 1, and I got good critics about being silent. So well, there are some rubber inserts here to dampen the vibration from the hard drives. They do dampen them a little bit, but I don't think this will be a dead silence build like my main PC in my living room. That's a dead silent with SSDs, because hard drives, they do make vibration noise. So and the only thing that's new for this build that I bought actually is this Corsair RM750X. And the thing with this power supply, the fan only spins when it needs to, so it's dead silent when it's like 30% of the capacity. And when you are really pushing and demanding a lot of power from the power supply, it revs up accordingly to what's needed. So I have this power supply in my main build, and it's a very good power supply. No noise whatsoever, no coil whine, no fan noise, unless you are gaming or doing something extreme with your computer, like rendering, and it seldom turns on. And 750 should be plenty of watt for this build. Each hard drive is 10 watt. And the system, I don't know how much it takes, but yeah. Then we can start the build. The first thing I'm gonna do is to fit the power supply, and this is 4 screw holes according to what power supply you're using. So you have to match up with the power supply. But I found an issue with this case. The power supply is too big to use the place here for hard drives. There is almost nothing, no space here. So, but still, if I don't have an optical drive, I can have 3 hard drives up there when there are opticals. So that should give me 11 total, I guess. Let's see, 5 to 10 at least. And 10 drives should be more than enough for storing backup and movies and all kinds of stuff. So and this doesn't need to be dead silent like my PC on in the living room. This only needs to be semi-silent. So yeah, I'm gonna screw the power supply, and after that we will mount the main board. And here you can see I dry fitted the standoffs for the motherboard. They are not screwed in yet, but I placed them where I thought them should be. And then you can match up with your motherboard and see that they line up. And that seems just right. There aren't so many options where you can place the standoffs. And often, most times, you get the I/O shield that's supposed to be under this fan. And the I/O shield is just aesthetics, but this is an old part I got from my father. He donated me a computer, a quad-core 2.83 gigahertz. So I'll be fine with no I/O shield. And to tighten them down, I use a 5mm socket and just some tools from my tool cabinet. I think I can do this by hand. Just screw them in. And I'll do it one by one. Then I can tighten them down a little bit extra just to make sure that they don't come loose when you are dismounting the motherboard again, if you're gonna do that in the future. But originally there was a 2-core E8400 and for only like $30 I got a quad-core computer from China. So I'm gonna upgrade this PC with a quad-core 2.83 gigahertz. And if you're not doing gaming, that should be sufficient. Because gaming demands a lot of computer power, and especially a lot from the graphics card. But normal Windows, a quad-core 2.83 is more than good enough. And for storage solutions, I'm gonna add a SATA controller to add more hard drives into this cage, and I'm gonna have a lot of storage, much more than most people will need eventually. Not when I'm done with this build, but eventually when I buy new hard drives, when I have money for it. And you must be careful with screws for your computer, because they can break. They are very some can be very fragile actually. But now I'm almost done. I got the flu, I guess. That was no biggie at all to mount the standoffs. And I think with this case they come labeled, so here is written motherboard screws. There are different kind of screws for with different, some have fine threads and some have coarser threads. So you don't want to cross thread anything. You need to make sure that you are using the right screw for the purpose. Like in optical drives, you need a fine thread, and I think there are coarser threads on the motherboard and also the hard drives. And the way you wanna place the motherboard, if you have an I/O shield, is this way, facing down. I'm just gonna remove this cable. Then you can see that they are lining up. A little bit bend in this motherboard. But I will make it flush. I think the back plate here, because this is a back plate. If you can see down at the processor unit, there's a back plate, and this mount, I didn't want to dismount it. I took out the processor to show you how that's done, but I'm not gonna show how to place the back plate and the mounts for this Noctua fan. And I loosened this a little bit on the right side so that I can get it up and open for a new CPU. And normally there's protection plate here, because all of the thing is, I'm gonna show you 5 seconds. Here you can see the difference between AMD processor. It has pins on the underside, and Intel has no pins on the processor. So the Intel processor is more rugged, because the pins here can, well, if I get it to focus, the pins here can break off, and that's no good. I think one of these have broken off, so I can't use this CPU. That's sad. But the way you mount it is by there are 2 notches, and the notches are there and there, so you can only enter one way. And there's also a, if you see here, there is a square there where my thumb is, and that needs to line up to, there is an arrow, I mean, and this needs to line up with the arrow on the motherboard. Let's see here where the arrow is. I can't see it on the motherboard. I can see one corner is chipped off there, so that's the arrow. We need to line it up, so I'm just gonna place it carefully, just like that. No pressure, none whatsoever, because you don't want to damage the pin underneath the CPU. I'm gonna open the lever, close the lid, and just push this lever down. And now the CPU is safely in place. So the next thing I'm gonna do is to mount screws in the motherboard. And I have motherboard screws in a separate bag here. So just now I see I have 9 posts, 9 standoffs, and 9 holes. 3, 3, and 3 on top, and all are lining up. If you place a standoff where it shouldn't be, it can short out the motherboard, and that's no good. And you want to use a magnetic screwdriver for this. It doesn't hurt the computer at all. Let's see here. My hand is a little bit in the way, but I place one screw there. And then I go about and place a screw in every hole, and if I need, I can adjust the position of the motherboard, and I make sure that I don't cross thread any of the screws. And you wait with tightening down the screws that are on the motherboard, because actually I needed to to move the motherboard a little bit on the last screw up in the corner here. So, but now all of them are in, so I can tighten them, but not too hard. Just use 2 fingers and tighten them on the screwdriver. Nothing fancy. So you don't over tighten it. This is delicate stuff. I have actually once in my lifetime I've broken a screw on a hard drive. Actually, the head it broke off, and that left me with one option to try to drill it out. I managed that, but the threads never got good enough to use, so you can do some damage if you are over tightening stuff here. Then it's time to add the memory, and you can see they are color coded because this is 2 bandwidths or two-way RAM. Means it has 2 connections to the CPU. So you can either use the red ones or the yellow ones if you are only using 2 RAM slots. But this is an old system and I want 8 GB of RAM, so I'm gonna use all of them. I have some insanely stupid heat sinks on this. This is a DDR2 RAM. No, it's DDR4 and DDR3, depending on what system you are using. My main computer used DDR4 RAM. But I managed to get hold of some DDR2 so that I maxed out with 8 GB. And this ears needs to be open when you're pushing down the RAM into position. And there is 2 large openings for the RAM and a divider in the middle, so you need to make sure that this opening here on the RAM slot matches the divider in the middle, so that you don't force the RAM into a place where it shouldn't be. But this is very straightforward. Just push down and lock. So I use 2 of the G-Skill DDR2 for with this big heatsink on the red slots, and I use 2 of the low profile on the yellow slots. Okay, that didn't line up. I need to turn it around. Like that. Inserting RAM is very easy. The next thing we're gonna do is to connect all these wires to the motherboard. Here is power switch and all kinds of small cables. Here you can see the markings and the pins I'm gonna use with power switch and LED and reset switch and stuff. I'm not gonna be able to show this operation because I need to, it's difficult and I need to see what I'm doing. So I'm just showing you the pins. You can see res is written, plus and minus, and speaker and ground and stuff. And that's you use your motherboard manual normally to know where to put it, but I have no motherboard manual for this one, so I'm just gonna look at the motherboard and figure out where things go. Here you can see I've connected all the inputs and also the USB 2 and the audio. The audio on top there is all of the connections are going in one way. You can't mess it up, or you can bend some pins, but that's not cool. So be sure that they goes in the right way. And there is no USB 3 here because the system is too old for that. Now I'm connecting the main power cable, feeding it through the grommet from the back side of the case. And then it goes in one direction. You can't mess it up. And there's also a hook there so that it will stay in place. And also there is a secondary power cable that needs to be connected where my finger is pointing. I needed to use an extension on this cable. It's a little bit dark, but you will see it there. But now it's fitted, and it's time to put on the CPU cooler. Now it's time for mounting the heatsink on the CPU. I'm gonna add some thermal paste. You need thermal paste on it. Some they only add like a pea size on the CPU, and then they pressure on the heatsink. I'm gonna use my finger a little bit and smear it out evenly. And this comes easily off with some dish cleaning solutions. Just a normal soap that takes fat will remove this. Just gonna use some paper first. That will be good enough for my finger. And then add the CPU heatsink. There are two screws with springs on them. And this is an old style Noctua fan. They have newer styles also. But Noctua is a really good brand. It's what I recommend for building a silent computer. Let's see if I get one side in. Yes, one side is in. And the other side. And this is good and in. Then I can tighten it. It's supposed to be tightened until it won't turn anymore. And you need to have both sides in before you tighten it. You can take a little bit on the other side now. Yeah, you can't see it, but I'm gonna tighten the other side. A little bit. Professional PC builders, they use electrical screwdrivers because it can be a strain on your underarm. If you do this every day, you can get some damage in your underarm. Now it's tight, and then I'm gonna put on the fan. You always need to have a fan when it comes to CPUs, otherwise the system will not like it. If you have a speaker, the speaker will go off if you don't have a fan. And here is CPU fan labeled, at least I can see it. And this is there is 4 pins here. You have 3-pin fan and 4 pins. This is a 4-pin, as you can see. It's a pulse width modulated. So you have pulse widths to pulses that adjust the fan speed, and I prefer to use PWM fans as much as I can, because they are the best for the motherboard to control. All my fans in, and this has there's an arrow. It's supposed to, here is the arrow, and it goes in out, it blows out on this side here. This side is out, that side is in. So that means I'm gonna mount it like this and use a couple of strips and there's a couple of metal clips, and then we'll be on. Okay, that's all for now. It was a little bit fiddly getting the clips on, one on each corner, but now they are on, and I think I'm ready for hard drives and an optical drive. To mount a hard drive into the case, you need to use one of this, and then I want the hard drive, all the mesh and the cables to be in the rear, so it should go in this way and into the back. Here you can see this is blank and all the connections are on the other side. So I'm gonna do this for, there are 4 screws that goes into the hard drive. It's positioned like that, and I'm gonna do this for the rest of my drives, and then I come back to you. Now the hard drives are in place, and I'm gonna connect from this side SATA cables here. I think that one is number 1, 2, and then it goes down. I want the booting one on number 1, and I have a lot of cables here. One has a different look to it, so that's one for the primary. But if it's not booting up directly, I can always use the BIOS to choose the 1 terabyte, which is the Windows booting disk. So I'm just gonna keep connecting here. I mounted an optical drive. I was going back and forth whether I should have one, but it's the easiest way to install Windows. I'm gonna have Windows 7 on this PC, and it was just slide the optical drive in and then push in on the side. This is quite foolproof, so it's a quick lock in, and you need a SATA cable and power cable to that. As you can see, there is quite a mess on this side, but I'm gonna tidy it up and do some cable management. Now I'm gonna just connect the SATA cables. The white one was supposed to go to the Windows CD. I'm gonna connect also power strips. There are one old-fashioned power strip for the case. The case has some fan control options, so I'm gonna use this old power strip for that, and also normal SATA cable power ties. Power cable, I mean. It was a tongue twister. Just connect it. It's quite simple and easy to do. Here you can see I've tied it up with strips and stuff. I haven't cut this yet. But it was kind of tricky building in this case, because of the lack of points where you can strip it together. But I managed somehow to make it not too wide out, so I can probably get my lid on, the side lid on. Yeah, it looks good enough. It's not a designer case anyways. It's supposed to be okay, and yeah. I managed to get the back on the case on. So the last thing now, I could have done it before, but I'm gonna place the graphic card in, and then I think I can try it on. There's nothing to putting a graphics card in. This is a GeForce GT 1030, so it's actually a new card, but it's without fans. You just line it up and push it in. So that's about it, and down there is one screw to be fastened. And I'm also gonna show how the computer looks from this side. It's not that messy actually. Actually, I had to disconnect some of the wires when I did some cable management. So here is the final result. Looks nice and tidy, and everything is connected, because there were some loose connections. I did a once over, and I found some loose connections that I disconnected when doing some cable management. And it's not that pretty, but it will do. And here I have some extra hard drives I connected. So this is for storage, 1 8 TB and stuff, movies, and also diagnose programs I have. This is gonna be my diagnose PC. So now I can turn it on. Yeah, the fan starts to turn, and we can look at the screen. And here you can see the PC, everything is up and working, and as it should. So yeah, quite easy build. So that was the video of me building a PC. Actually, one of the most important things when you are building the PC is the pins that are on the back side of AMD's computer, and the pins that are on the motherboard on Intel computers, because they are very sensitive. And I've done the mistake, I ruined AMD, yeah, it was AMD $35 processor that was ruined by me, because some of the pins bent, and I bent it back and it broke off. So it can happen to anyone. So if you manage to not bend the pins, everything else is quite easy to do. And I also have something for the channel in the springtime. I'm gonna change this window regulator on my mother's car. It was quite cheap. It was under 300 Norwegian kroner delivered to me. You can see everything is as it should. So in the springtime, when it gets a little bit warmer and perhaps not so dark and wet as the winter has been for the last month, then I will do that. So at the moment she have to have the window open, no, not open, but shut all the time, and open the door instead. I think I've been building my own computers from let's say mid 2000, I guess 2006 was the first time I bought my own computer, and I builded it the way I wanted it, and maybe earlier, but that was when I got real serious, because I bought a silent computer and I did a silent build. And silent builds have always been the main thing I want to achieve when building my own computers. So you have to have a cabinet that deals with hard drive vibrations, because they are really loud. And not many cases do actually manage to deal with hard drive vibrations. And also I can pick out the parts that are best, read the reviews and figure out what price do I want to end up in, price range. And then I can select the parts I want for my computer. And actually in my living room I have a HD PC that is similar to a amplifier in size. And it's fitted underneath my TV, so it's real nice. And it's dead silent, you can't hear it when it's on, unless I'm gaming, because then all the fans rev up. I have 5 fans on it, because it's possible to have that many fans, and all of them are temperature controlled. So when it's needed to cool it down, because the processor and the GPU are working hard, then it increases with the temperature of the fan speed. So even underneath in my AV rack or TV rack, I can keep it cool and stealth in a way. It's much more stealth than a big tower in the middle of the room. That's not so very stealth. But I wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and I will be making more videos soon. I just wanted to show the setup I have here in my living room. Here's my main PC, and it's actually the part here. That's my PC. Oops. There's a Blu-ray drive, and it's AMD R5 1600X, so it's a 6-core full-fledged processor, and it's a GTX 1070, so it's a quite high-end gaming card. The gaming card is huge. It's more than 35 centimeters long. But this was the only HD PC case that could have that long graphic card. And also, now I have the microphone close to really close to the PC, and you can't hear it. You can't hear it with your ears. Even you can hear it when I'm gaming, but there are 3 fans on the other side, underneath the case here, that sucks air and gets it into the back, and there are 2 on this side here. So 520 millimeter fans that can cool this case quite easily. And I actually cut out the section in the rear so that the air escapes out in the rear, and I had to cut out the back plate on the TV board, a TV stand, because the case was too long for it. It wouldn't be good if I didn't cut out the TV stand in the rear. And up here I can turn it on, I have my 65-inch TV now connected to the computer. I actually don't watch channels, I watch YouTube. And I have some PlayStation 3 and PlayStation 4 on top there. And some speakers as well. And there is my big toolbox. So this is my setup here in my living room. And I'm quite pleased with it. So I can play like Assassin's Creed Origins, like one of the newest games that are really nice graphic. I can play it on 65-inch, and I think that's quite fun. And also Fallout 4, for example. I can play any high-end game, AAA game I want. So yeah, not bad for a bachelor.